Hello, this is Doc Severson for the ReadySetCrypto OMNIA newsletter market update for Sunday, the 9th of February. I'm going to have a little bit of fun today to start out today's video review. What I've got is Bitcoin versus the US dollar on the Bitstamp exchange, and this should be a little bit of fun because what we're dealing with here is a log chart on the monthly time scale. And what we're starting to see here is these repeating patterns happening over and over again. And repeating patterns, chart patterns, can come with a forward price projection to them. Let me explain. If we have a triangle pattern, which we did back here at this point, and this is 2013 to around the beginning of 2016 or so. And then if we draw the other leg of this, we pretty much have a symmetrical triangle. And so from this range expansion, a little bit of contraction in here, we had range contraction for quite some time. That was a nasty move from 2013 all the way through 2015 and would definitely test the patience of any investor. Now, the general idea here is that if you measure the open end of a triangle, and admittedly, this is very subjective, but if you measure the open end of that triangle, and this, it doesn't really matter whether it's a symmetrical triangle or an ascending triangle like this, but if you measure the open end of this, that is the forward price projection. See if I can draw this right. So this delta here is approximately equal to this delta here. And I think actually I'm going to drag this one out just a little bit because I think this, if this will behave itself, which is going to be a challenge. Let's see if we can get it to do that. And I'm going to drag this one up to about here. So let's just say that this is an ascending triangle in this area. And we have the open end, and then we have a breakout from there. Okay, I'm going to go old school here and bring up just a notepad tool because I could not find a way to get a geometric shape to move without changing the size of it. So let's kind of adjust this size. Okay, so this is the open end of this triangle, and whether or not this is a symmetrical or whether this is an ascending triangle doesn't really matter that much. But if we look at this from a breakout perspective, that's pretty close to the eventual target for this, which got us up to, 20,000, approximately 20,000, was fairly close to the breakout level of this. And let's say that breakout level was about 1,000. So let's bring this all the way up to here, and let's just assume that this is just a big ascending triangle pattern that's showing up. So we did get that breakout level. From the breakout level up to about 20,000. That's kind of the forward move of this. Maybe you see where I'm going here. Okay, so we have kind of the same thing going on. And instead of drawing this through the drawing tools, which are not behaving right now, what we have is kind of the same thing going on right now. We have an open triangle. We've been living in the bear for quite some time now, 2 years, a little over 2 years. We have an open end of the triangle. Let's do a little forward projection and see how this turns out. Notice that it's about the same size, okay? It's about the same size of the open end of this triangle when markets went parabolic back here in 2013 as we did into 2017. Almost the same size. And so if we take this breakout level as being, let's say perhaps it's 10,000. Let's be as conservative as we possibly can be here. Okay, we have an interesting upside target, which on the log scale is 160,000. Now, I don't want to turn into one of those clowns that's on Cointelegraph that's claiming 160,000 Bitcoin in the next year just to get clicks. But this is an interesting show of symmetry that we've had from the past moves here. The open end of this breakout was pretty darn close to the target for this. And if we can suspend belief for a second, maybe a breakout from 10,000 is going to lead us up to 160,000. Get yours now before it becomes expensive. So you might question, well, is that going to happen or not? Well, of course, nobody knows that. Nobody knows that. What we're doing here is we're looking at past price movements. We're making correlations to future price movements based on what it's done in the past. Is there any logic behind that? Well, if there's any logic behind herd behavior, this is what we're trying to spot. We're trying to spot how the herd behaves to these sort of runaway price moves where people are chasing after an asset that's becoming ever more scarce. So that is my super macro view on what's going on in the crypto markets, especially Bitcoin versus the US dollar. And it's really been interesting over the last couple of years because Bitcoin is not really given up anything in terms of this. Although the dominance, we're continuing to see the dominance drop lately. This is the market cap BTC dominance. And it's come in quite a bit in the last, this is a weekly chart, so the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks. And this is all the time that Bitcoin has been driving higher. This means that it's losing market share to the altcoins. Interesting. Could this be altcoin rally part 2? Here's my guidance on that. This will not be the same as 2017. 2017 was like fishing in a trout pond. You just throw something in there and you got hungry fish chasing after it. It's going to be different this time. It always is. Lightning never strikes twice at the same time. The markets that I've seen that have gone completely nuts, it's never been quite the same every time. What we want to identify is not necessarily something that's running away like crazy, but something that's gaining steady and regular demand to it. Steady and regular demand to it. In other words, almost trading like a stock is what we want it to do. I think you guys have seen enough altcoins over the last 2 years during the bear market where it explodes and then it gets absolutely crushed. What's the point of that? That becomes a trade if you want to, but many of you buy in down here or buy on the way up, and then you hold all the way past the point of no return. And so it's not generating any net benefit to you. What you want to find is something that's going to hold its value, that's going to go slow and steady and obey the laws of physics, where this building up a potential energy leads to a kinetic energy movement to the upside, where it rebuilds the potential, reworks it into kinetic energy. And this is what I call stair stepping. This is a very linear market. This is much easier to trade, and it's much easier to analyze something like this. So there's an expression that goes, everybody's a genius in a bull market. Why? Okay, well, find things that are in a bull market. Find things that are in a quiet and trending linear character like that, and then trade those. Specialize in those types of coins. So obviously, let's go back to the daily chart here with Bitcoin, and let's look at things. Actually, I'm going to go out to the weekly chart first of all, and do we have a weekly uptrend? Not yet. We haven't taken out the previous high, but we're darn close to it, and there's a really good chance at this point that it doesn't matter, because either we're going to take out that high, and that's going to increase the probability of a higher low, wherever that shows up, or we're going to fade at this point, and it still is going to lead to a higher probability. At this point, if we only got up to about 8,000, that would be kind of a back test of the previous pivot and then a failure at that point. We wouldn't be out of the woods. But I think right now, based on our ability to break above 8,000, that's really good. And the fact that it's above 10,000 this weekend is even better. This does increase the probability that any pullback from here is going to generate a higher low and move us into slingshot territory, which is actually very, very constructive. Let's kind of stay on the weekly chart right now because we do need that bigger perspective. What about Ethereum? I like the fact that Ethereum has broken out definitively over 200. That's good. Still has a long way to go. Remember how just completely nuts this one went before, Armageddon kicked in early 2018. So this one has a lot of work to do. And I want to see it. I don't want to see this thing just completely blow up. Even though everybody's impatient, they want things to blow up just like the old times. I don't want to see this again, because what we found was when you have markets that go look crazy like this, you get the hairy back to every parabolic market. I want something that's going to transition into quiet and trending. So far, so good. Let's look at Ripple. Ripple's got a long way to go as well, too. And it's, even though it's back up to 28, 29 cents, which is a good start, not above the high pivot, the last lower high. So this one is still in a nasty weekly downtrend. Good start, though. I like the volume that we're seeing off the bottom. Litecoin, definitely taking out that weekly pivot. This is good. Again, I want to see this thing put in a higher low and survive that higher low and break into a higher high. I want to see this transition, because right now this is just a weekly swing, guys. It's a weekly swing that does increase the probabilities that any low from here will be a higher low. But this is a building process that we're into. We're very early into the beginning of this. This is Bitcoin Cash. This one is actually fairly strong. If we pull this out to a big weekly chart, you can see how close to the bottom that we really are. Very close to the bottom of this. Again, I have to reiterate, don't be panicked into buying at this point. More than likely, at some point, we're going to have a decent higher low set up. It's not going to feel good. They never do. It's not going to feel good when the higher low sets up. So if this thing blasts off from this point and then all of a sudden starts pulling back, everybody's going to go, oh no. You know, all the Eeyores of the world are going to be out there. Well, I told you so. Told you it was going to do that. You know, oh no, there it goes again. I don't want to hold through this. And then it's going to absolutely destroy to the upside. This is the way that markets work. You got to go lower first to go higher. You've got to build up that bearish sentiment, people that are predisposed to being bearish. And there are a lot of those that I've worked with over my career that cannot seem to handle. They cannot stomach bullish price movement. These are the skeptics of the world. These are the people that are negative on absolutely everything. And again, like I said, I've met my fair share of them, and they will sell into these moves. They will sell into these, and sometimes they can do really, really well as the price pulls back, and then they double down, and this is what will drive the price higher. So for all you people out there that hate the fact that bears are in the market, they are very useful during this period. They're very useful. Okay, let's keep on looking through here. We have EOS, which is definitely forming a new high. So this is on Coinbase, so I don't have years of data on this one. A lot of these are going to be on the coins I'm going to be putting on my new watch list is going to be like, if I can trade it on Coinbase, I'm going to track it and look for signals. Here is Dash, which is on Kraken, and Dash has got a long way to go. It's a pretty expensive coin considering the fact that it's only come off of 100. Amazing. Ethereum Classic looks really good. This is definitely broken above the recent weekly high. This is printed a new higher high, but again, it's not a trend. It's just a swing right now because of all these moves. Let's go to Tezos. This one looks really good. This one has broken into a weekly uptrend. A little bit parabolic, good volume. Very strong week for Tezos, including the apparent low print here, which means that liquidity may not be that great, at least on Kraken right now. Here is Stellar. Stellar still in a weekly downtrend, but nice swing to the upside, still looking good. A lot of things are looking very positive. Here is Chainlink, higher low, higher high. This is in a weekly uptrend. So Chainlink versus the US dollar in a weekly uptrend, looking very good. Let's look at this one on the daily chart just to get an idea. This is the sort of chart that I like to see, where we're pulling back nicely, breaking into new highs. Look at this consolidation here. This is almost a perfect bull flag. That is precisely what we want to see, because this is range expansion going to range contraction, tight little consolidation patterns. Really good. This is the type of price action we want to identify and trade against. 0x, kind of the same thing. Working into higher highs and higher lows on the daily chart. Let's look at the weekly chart. Still got a long way to go. Basic attention token. Higher low. Now that's almost an equal low at this point. It's in a big consolidation on the weekly chart, swinging higher, not into a trend yet. Atom, this one doesn't have much history. Zcash coming really strong off the bottom. Really strong off the bottom. This one is, I would not chase this one up this point. Wait for the higher low to set up. We have, let's see, rep here, OXT. A lot of these are starting to get into altcoin territory. Algo, don't have a whole lot of history with this one. This is Bitcoin SV. And this one looks really good as well too. This one has broken into a daily uptrend. Or I'm sorry, this is a weekly uptrend. Definitely a weekly uptrend at this point. Neo is calming off the bottom. Look at this, higher low, higher high, starting to transition into a weekly uptrend. Still very close to the bottom. We're very early into this move. Okay, here's a swing on IOTA. And then finally, Monero is again coming off the bottom. This is kind of a big double bottom pattern that you can see on the monthly chart. Big double bottom on the monthly chart. Almost an inverted head and shoulders on the monthly chart as well too, with pretty high price target to the upside, probably in the 200s. All right, let's look at some of the swing trades that we've been tracking. This is Tezos. Tezos looks really good. Don't know whether I just covered this one a minute ago or so. Here's Ocean. Ocean is transitioning into a nice channeling. This is a weekly swing to the upside. It's in a weekly uptrend. So we talked about this one at length. Big weekly flag pattern, prints a higher low, higher high, and up she goes. Really nice. Let's see. Potcoin, this one is consolidating, doing what it has to do right now. This is the daily chart. Weekly chart is a little bit, it's still coming off the bottom. I mean, look how close to the bottom this thing is. So we've had a really nice little rally off the bottom. Don't feel bad. Don't feel like you've missed anything. Because if this is real, if this is going to turn into the next alt season, we'll have plenty of time to identify a weekly uptrend and jump on the next iteration of that, the next swing of that. Okay, Engine, a lot of these are just coming off the bottom still. Icon has been real strong over the last few weeks, but again, just for perspective, look at this. You don't have to catch the very bottom tick of these guys. You do not have to catch the very bottom tick. Wait until it establishes itself into a trend. Remember, rule number one is that larger time frames dominate the trend. Wait until that larger time frame starts to work into an uptrend, and then you can trade alongside of that. Here is a Decentraland, obviously working into a month, or this is a weekly uptrend. Nice strong week here on pretty good volume. And then Raven has been something that we followed over the last couple of years, occasionally popping higher and then getting crushed, popping higher, then getting crushed. Okay, building a huge base. At this point, we want to see this thing definitely start to trade above on the sats, above about 450 to 500 sats before we want to claim this thing as being in some type of a weekly uptrend. Don't forget, for those of you that are into technical analysis and charting and price action and things like that, we have a new class that's up on Elliott Wave Trading, which is a new contributor that we have. Schuyler Edwards. We've already gotten some good feedback on the class, so check it out. It's under the course directory. Or if you're just receiving the newsletter and you want to upgrade your subscription into OMNIA, let us know. We can certainly help you take care of that. One other thing too is that we're going to be spending a lot more attention on trading. If we have a market that's generally supporting uptrends and we have weekly trends coming into play, then it's going to make a lot more sense for us to, instead of protecting capital, put capital at risk. Our job over the last 2 years has been to protect capital and show different techniques of how you can trade with options and make income even though a market's generally heading lower. Well, now if the market is heading higher, there's a lot more things that we can do, which are going to make sense for a lot more people that are out there instead of trying to flip around and play everything bearish through futures. I look forward to working with you on that. Have a great weekend. We'll see you.